a coded signal, a machine built to scan the skies, and a chilling message that has shaken scientists across the globe. For decades, ATLAS, the all-sky automated survey for supernovae, was designed to detect dying stars. But what it captured this time wasn't a star at all. It was a transmission, not random noise, not cosmic static, a structured signal, one that confirms the very fear we've tried to bury for years. What if we were never alone? And worse, what if they already know we're here? High above our world, beyond the reach of ordinary eyes, a machine keeps watch. Its name is ATLAS, the all-sky automated survey for supernovae, built with one purpose: to scan the heavens for explosions so faint, so distant, that human vision could never catch them. Day and night its lenses sweep the dark, searching for dying suns, mapping cosmic fire, recording the final breaths of stars. But recently, ATLAS saw something it was never designed to find. Buried in the sea of starlight, hidden within the ordinary static of the cosmos, a signal emerged. At first it looked like nothing, just faint pulses of light weaker than a flicker. Scientists dismissed it as background interference, the meaningless noise of space. Yet the pulses returned, again and again, each separated by precise intervals, each repeating with unnerving accuracy. Nature is chaotic. Explosions, collisions, and flares all follow messy patterns. But this was different, too deliberate, too structured. The more researchers examined the anomaly, the more it defied explanation. It wasn't a star. It wasn't a planet. It wasn't random. It felt intentional. As the realization spread through the team, silence filled the lab. If this was true, then ATLAS hadn't merely detected a supernova. It had intercepted a transmission, something that came not from the violent death of a star, but from intelligence, a signal, a voice. The only question was whose? And more importantly, was it ever meant for us? At first glance, the signal was simple, faint bursts of light arranged in a rhythm. But when scientists slowed it down, when they stripped away the noise, a deeper truth emerged. The pulses weren't random. They were counting, not in any human language, not in Morse code, but in the purest, most universal pattern of all, prime numbers. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, a sequence that no star, no quasar, no black hole could ever produce on its own. Nature doesn't understand primes. Only intelligence does. The room grew cold when the pattern was confirmed. This wasn't background noise. This wasn't coincidence. This was a message. And then came the detail that shook everyone to the core. The signal wasn't traveling from some unfathomable corner of the cosmos, billions of light years away. It was much closer. It was echoing from within our very own galaxy, the Milky Way. That realization changed everything, because if this transmission came from our galactic neighborhood, it meant two terrifying possibilities. Either there is another civilization out there, advanced enough to use light itself as a medium for communication. Or worse, the message wasn't meant for us at all. What if ATLAS had stumbled upon a conversation? What if we were listening to a signal meant for someone or something else? And if that's true, then the most terrifying question follows. Did whoever sent this transmission now realize we heard it? When cryptographers fed the signal into advanced decoding models, something extraordinary surfaced. The pulses weren't just counting. They were pointing. Within the sequence lay embedded coordinates, celestial markers etched into the code like a map written in light. These weren't vague or symbolic. They were exact, a location, and not in some unreachable galaxy billions of years away. The signal pointed to a region just a few thousand light-years from Earth, tucked inside the Milky Way, a place shrouded in darkness, known among astronomers for its strange voids and unexplained anomalies. At first, the discovery felt exhilarating, a breadcrumb trail from intelligence far beyond our own, but exhilaration quickly turned to dread, because when researchers cross-checked the coordinates, they found something chilling. This wasn't the first time they'd appeared. Old archives, dusty recordings from the 1970s and 80s, contained faint, unexplained bursts, static anomalies once dismissed as glitches. Yet when plotted, those bursts aligned with the very same coordinates ATLAS had revealed. It meant the transmission wasn't new. It had been repeating for decades, perhaps centuries, patient, relentless. waiting for someone advanced enough to finally notice. But what was waiting there? A civilization signaling across the stars? A warning beacon repeating endlessly? Or perhaps something stranger? The terrifying possibility began to creep into every mind on the project. We weren't the intended audience. We were just eavesdropping. And if that's true, then one question rises like a shadow over humanity. What happens when the true recipient finally answers? As scientists pushed deeper into the signal, its tone shifted. The clean rhythm of primes gave way to something darker. Bursts of light stretched, twisted, and broke into patterns that felt less like counting, and more like decay. Hidden inside the transmission was a model, a sequence that mirrored half-lives, collapse rates, and exponential breakdowns. At first, they thought it was mathematical noise. But when plotted on graphs, the shapes resembled catastrophic events. Implosions, chain reactions, planetary destruction. This wasn't communication. It was demonstration. Some argued it was a teaching tool, a way of showing physics across language barriers. But others saw something far more sinister, a warning. A message screaming danger wrapped inside numbers, as if to say, this is what happens if you do not listen. And then came the most terrifying interpretation of all. The sequence wasn't static. It was counting down. Each shift in the signal hinted at progression. A clock ticking through data, moving closer toward something. Some researchers whispered it was a cosmic hazard. Others feared it wasn't natural at all, but an intentional threat. A declaration. If Atlas had intercepted this by accident, then we may not have been the target of the message. But what if we were? What if the transmission wasn't a greeting across the void, but a warning flare meant for fragile civilizations like ours, reminding us that survival is conditional? And the most haunting thought of all, what if the countdown isn't to a warning, but to an arrival? The moment the countdown theory surfaced, governments stepped in. Files were sealed, access revoked. What had started as open research quickly became classified intelligence. Scientists were sworn to silence under threat of losing their careers, or worse. Yet whispers leaked. Quiet voices inside the project revealed chilling debates behind closed doors. If the signal was real, if it truly carried intent, then humanity was standing at the edge of a revelation too vast to contain. Because this wasn't just about science, this was about power. Religions would fracture, nations would panic, economies would collapse overnight. The very idea that we were being observed or targeted would unravel everything we thought stable. World leaders asked themselves, is the human race even ready to know? And yet the most frightening detail wasn't who sent the signal. It was why now. For decades the transmission had echoed unnoticed like a whisper in the dark. But suddenly Atlas was able to capture it, louder, sharper, impossible to ignore. Something had changed. The source wasn't just broadcasting. It was amplifying, almost as if it wanted to be heard now. Was it coincidence that our technology had finally grown sensitive enough to listen? Or was the timing deliberate, chosen by whatever intelligence lurked behind those coordinates? And if so, then we must ask, why reveal themselves at this exact moment in history? Perhaps the signal was never meant to enlighten us. Perhaps it was meant to prepare us for what no one dared to say aloud. Despite the silence forced on many, a few researchers refused to let go. Late at night, behind encrypted servers and hidden networks, they kept listening. And what they found made the blood drain from their faces. The signal hadn't stopped, faint, almost imperceptible, but still there. A steady rhythm. A slow, relentless beat, like a cosmic heart echoing across the void. Each pulse identical, each interval perfect, and yet there was something unnerving. The transmission wasn't fading. It was growing stronger. It wasn't just being broadcast. It was adaptive, adjusting itself as if compensating for our attempts to decode it. The message was watching us back, matching our steps, reacting to our gaze. No longer just a transmission, a presence. Fear spread through the underground community of scientists, because if the signal was adaptive, then it meant intelligence. Not a forgotten beacon, not the fossil of some ancient civilization, something alive, something aware. And awareness has consequences. The realization struck like lightning. Atlas hadn't just discovered them. Atlas had alerted them. To us, we were no longer observing the universe in secret. We had been noticed, and when something vast, patient, and intelligent finally notices you, one question becomes unavoidable. Will it reach out in peace or in silence? Because a signal this deliberate, this relentless, doesn't go unanswered forever. And the most terrifying possibility is that the true response hasn't even begun. Atlas was built to witness the death of stars. Instead, it may have recorded the first whisper of something alive. Something vast, ancient, and deliberate. The signal wasn't a glitch. It wasn't random. It was a message. And inside that message may be a truth too dangerous for us to face. If this transmission is real, it means our fears were never paranoia. We are not alone. We have never been alone. The sky itself is not empty, but a stage where something watches, calculates, and waits. And now, through Atlas, it has spoken. The question is no longer if something is out there. The question is, why did it finally decide to answer? So I'll ask you, what do you think this message truly means? Is it a greeting, a warning, or the first step in something we can't control? Tell me in the comments below, because one thing is certain. The universe just became far more dangerous than we ever imagined.